Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where today it's time for another SPFBO8 review. This one in fact is my last official review for SPFBO8 because I've now come to the end of my allocation of 6 titles, so I will very soon be in a position to announce to you all which of my allocation are being cut and which one is being put forward as a semi-finalist in this year's competition. As usual, I'll have links in the description box below where you can find out more details about SPFBO and this year's competition and track it as it progresses, and also a Goodreads link where you can check out today's title. So let's get into that one then, because today I'm reviewing I Shall Return with Winter by C.F. Welburn. I Shall Return with Winter is a Norse-inspired tale of revenge, prophecy, betrayal and faith. It follows one man's journey of discovery, which is most definitely not the journey he originally set out on. Our main character Oben is a farmer, he's not a warrior, but when Skelgs raid his village and kill his sister, he follows them north looking for vengeance, and he tells his wife that he will return with Winter. Obviously things don't go to plan, and Oben finds himself a subject of a prophecy he knows nothing about in a land he doesn't understand. So this is a book with quite a few subtle themes to it. I don't say that to imply that they are hidden and you have to delve deep to be able to find them. You've only got kind of little nuances here and there. I mean it more in terms of there being themes that are clearly there. They have a definite impact on the character growth and of the direction of the story, but they don't just hit you over the head. They are finely integrated into the background of the story. I quite like how this is done and how you can read the book just to enjoy it, or you can do that slightly deeper dive and really examine those themes and the way that they impact on Oben as the story progresses. It might seem a little bit odd to say that I like when a story does that, because every story has themes to it, there's no getting away from that. But it's not every story that I feel can really do them well without having them front and centre. We start off this book after the inciting incident, which might seem a little bit odd, but I don't mind it here. You don't always need it if the opening is gripping enough and if it tells you enough, and I found that both of those apply here. We do also get to see that inciting incident through a flashback later on in the story, and I don't think we suffer for having it at that point rather than in the chronological point at the opening of the book. By then, of course, we already know what happened, we just don't know the detail, but we also know more about Oben. We know the type of character that he is on his way to becoming, but we also know the type of character he was, the type of person he was at that particular point where the Skelgs sacked his village. And I feel that this strengthens the flashback when it does come, because it's not just happening to people we know nothing about, and it also doesn't come off just as fridging the way it might have done if the story had opened with this. Now, I do like the character development that we get here with Oben as he learns more about these people, the Skelgs, their language, their religion, where they come from as well, because it's not actually where his people thought they came from. And there's also a bit of Stockholm syndrome here as he spends more time with these people and he starts to question his own faith, as his trinity of gods do nothing to save him from the predicament he finds himself in. Now, the overall story might not be part of an ongoing tale. There's nothing that I could find anywhere that said it was book one of a series or anything along those lines, but I do feel that it's actually written as a standalone. It certainly has the satisfying conclusion that you hope all standalone novels have, and I think it worked quite well. I think it did wrap up the story in quite a nice way, although I'm sure if there were to be more stories in this world, there's definitely the scope for them to be done well. The story doesn't necessarily take the path that I expected it to though, but I quite like that, because what you do get with that is an interesting character in a story that works well. And I do like how you get those little twists and turns, especially as Oben tries to worm his way out of this fate that the Skelgs have placed upon him. It's not just a case of him accepting his lot and just going with the flow, and I like how that means that when you are faced with two pretty major decisions at various points, you never know which one of those paths Oben is going to walk down. So another thing that I like here is the world building, and especially the physical world, the geography of it, where you've got a very vivid portrayal of this land, and it's obviously got a lot of history to it as well. You do a lot of travelling, seeing lots of different places of it, and you also learn about the kind of political setup of the land, I suppose, with all of these different clans, We're focusing mainly on the Skelgs to the north. You don't see too much of Oban's homeland, you see bits and pieces, but most of what we're seeing here is the Skelgs, and we're seeing them through Oban's eyes. And I like how you get that. I always like to see a society through the eyes of an outsider, and especially as you have here, through the eyes of a combative outsider. The setup and the rivalries that the clans have, I think, is really well done, and I like the individual members of the clans that you get access to here as well, which make for an interesting cast of supporting characters. I often find in stories like this that the clansmen and clanswomen have a certain charm about them, and that's definitely what we got here. It's almost like they have no filter to them, they just speak their mind, they speak freely and with honesty, even if the individual characters are anything but. Now, probably the one thing that I found worked most against me in this book is the pacing, which I thought was just a little bit off in a few too many places. We do a lot of travel here, and I don't mind that, it's absolutely fine, but here we had various scenes where there was travel, and you would have a bit of description where it says on the 11th day this happened, and then there's a couple of paragraphs detailing what happened, and then it'll say on the 15th day this happened, and you get a couple of paragraphs there, and on the 18th day and another couple of paragraphs. And I feel like that just slows down the narrative when you've got travel detailed in that particular way. For me, it just works as a bit of a roadblock to the overall pacing of the story. Outside of that though, I felt that the writing was absolutely fine. It was very easy to get into. I would say it's a very accessible writing style, and once I did get into it, it was very easy to continue reading through the whole story. So with that said, I think this was a very good book overall. There were a lot of elements that I really enjoyed about it, and not any major downsides for me to report back on. I would say if you like a Norse-inspired setting and you like a bit of action in your fantasy story, but you don't want that action to be the key focal point of the actual story, this book could definitely be a good one for you. So I round off the 6 titles I read for SPFBO8 on a high, with a good story, good world building, good characters, all combining in I Shall Return with Winter. If you've read this, or if you're interested in reading it, drop me a note in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this one. I hope you've enjoyed following me on this journey through SPFBO8. I will continue to put out content as I look at other books that are involved in the competition, and as the competition draws to a close, I'll be reading the opening chapter of the 10 finalists, minus any if applicable that I've already read, as I did for SPFBO7, and I'll give my views on those, so definitely look out for that one in the coming months. In the meantime though, do check out the other fantasy and especially self-published fantasy content that I have on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. You can find all my social media links and my book club Discord link below this video. Do come and join the community if you want to. We have a great time discussing all things fantasy there. I hope to see you in the next video sometime soon, but until then, as always, take care of yourselves, read some good books. Bye for now.